Hey everybody! This video is about bad writing in the classic American novel Moby Dick, written by Herman Melville. I guess I should clarify what I mean by bad writing. A lot of Herman Melville's sentences in this book were long and complicated, and they broke some rules of writing that I was taught in school. So basically, if I wouldn't have been allowed to write that sentence in English class, if my English teacher would have red marked my essay or story for writing that sentence, then I call it a bad sentence, and Moby Dick has some bad sentences. Now, despite a title that causes some people to laugh, Moby Dick, Moby Dick by Herman Melville it's a classic for a reason. Readers who love Moby Dick talk about Moby Dick. They talk about stuff like symbolism and theme, but when readers who despise Moby Dick explain why they hate it, they usually mention the way that it's written. The sentences are tough to read. There are way too many of them, and a lot of these sentences are the bad sentences that I talked about a moment ago. I almost didn't want to write about Moby Dick because people automatically assume I'm making fun of the title, but I'm not. I've made fun of the title before. It's probably not fair to do that because the word dick didn't quite mean the same thing back when Moby Dick was first published, so readers probably didn't laugh or snicker at the title back then. And if they did, they're ahead of their time. Even though I'm not a big fan of this classic novel, it's not my favorite, I have to admit that Moby Dick starts off strong with one of the best opening sentences in all of literature. Call me Ishmael. As far as opening sentences go, this is not a bad sentence at all. It's short, it's diagrammable, it tells you who the narrator is, but it's a little misleading. It doesn't prepare you, it doesn't prepare the reader for what comes next. And a reader like me needs to be emotionally ready for a sentence that soon follows, call me Ishmael. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral that I meet, and especially whenever my happus gets such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. Maybe this shows my deficiencies as a reader, but I was okay with damp, drizzly November in my soul. I think Melville or Ishmael could have stopped right there and gone straight to I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. Everything else just made the sentence worse and the novel longer. Alright, so let's check this out. Let's try this revision and see how this works. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, then I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. How's that? Was that too short? Is that too short? Yeah, it probably was too short, but for me it's more readable. Now there are a lot of these kinds of sentences in Moby Dick. For example, at the end of chapter 24, The Advocate, is this sentence in paragraph. And as for me, if, by any possibility, there be any as yet undiscovered prime thing in me, if I shall ever deserve any real repute in that small but high-hushed world which I might not be unreasonably ambitious of, if hereafter I shall do anything that, upon the whole, a man might rather have done than to have undone, if, at my death, my executors, or more properly, my creditors, find any precious MSS in my desk, then here I prospectively ascribe all the honor and the glory to whaling, for whaleship was my Yale College and my Harvard. Maybe the semicolon usage was correct back in 1850. Maybe it was a stylistic thing. I understand that, but it's confusing to be taught one way to use a semicolon in school and then to see it used differently in classic literature. If I'd used semicolons the way Melville used them in Moby Dick, I would have failed my English classes. And a sentence doesn't have to be long to be a bad sentence. I mean, it helps, but it doesn't have to. Let's take a look at this one. This bad sentence at the beginning of chapter 28, Captain Ahab, describes a rod-like mark, lividly whitish, on Captain Ahab's face and neck. It resembled that perpendicular seam sometimes made in the straight, lofty trunk of a great tree, and the upper lightning tearingly darts down it, and without wrenching a single twig, peels and grooves out the bark from top to bottom, ere running off into the soil, leaving the tree still greenly alive, but branded. Maybe I'm wrong to not want more, but I was okay with rod-like mark, lividly whitish. To me, the sentence about that perpendicular seam is more distracting than descriptive. The thing is, I've never seen that kind of perpendicular seam, sometimes made in the straight, lofty trunk of a great tree when the upper lightning tearingly darts down it, so it's difficult for me to visualize it. Maybe rural readers in the 1850s were more accustomed to seeing seams in trees than they were in seeing scars. I don't know. Maybe I don't appreciate metaphors enough. I mean, maybe that's what keeps me from being a successful writer, is that I can't put together a sentence like that. And the thing is, it's easier to read a difficult book like Moby Dick when you're actually looking for the bad sentences. I'll probably never read Moby Dick again because I'm old enough now to decide what I'll read and what I won't read. But if I absolutely had to read the whole thing again, I'd purposely look for bad sentences while I was reading. It's kind of fun to look for them. It's also fun trying to figure out what the bad sentences mean. It's like doing a crossword puzzle without so much necessary prior knowledge. And not all sentences in Moby Dick are bad. I'd be foolish to suggest anything like that. Some of the sentences are great. I've already mentioned the first sentence, and towards the end of the novel, in that final full chapter, the chase, third day, Captain Ahab shouts out, "What ho, Tashtigo!" That's a great sentence. It's difficult to top a rhyming greeting or farewell. I'd never heard of "What ho, Tashtego." I've heard of "What's up, Chuck?" But "What ho, Tashtego" is way better because it rhymes. It's like "See you later, alligator," or "In a while, crocodile," except you can use it to greet people instead of saying farewell. And I think we should bring back "What ho" as a standard greeting. I just don't want to be the first guy to try it. I think it's time we mature adults reclaim the word ho and bring it back to its original meaning. We should make "what ho" so common that nobody laughs or starts fights over it. After that, we can bring back the word dick and just make it a guy's name again. But I don't know. That might be asking too much. All right, enough about me. What do you think about this? Because not everyone agrees with me on stuff like this, which is why I make the videos. Were these sentences from Moby Dick really that bad, or do I just not get it? And what other bad sentences can you find in Moby Dick? And what other books would you like to see in the next bad writing in classic literature? All right, this is my blog, Dysfunctional Literacy, and if you like topics like this, if you like discussing or arguing about books and writing, check out other videos on this channel or visit my blog. I also write book reviews, I do commentary, and I also put up my own original stories sometimes too. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.